Hey, this is Rich over at TVP Live with another quick tips tutorials brought to you by Adobe Photoshop Elements Custom Tutorials Group. And let's jump right in with today's poster wants to know how to take this blanket out. And the original poster had attempted here, and it looks pretty good. This whole photo's got some really good composition going on. The bouquet is really awesome. As far as sweetening the photo, I think maybe adding a little warmth would be nice. But other than that, this is a great photo. Now, down here is where you can notice where the blanket was removed. As you can see along here, there was some clone stamping tool done, and there's some weird edges here that you can see. So let's go ahead and go back to the original. We can start from scratch to recreate what the poster originally wanted and hopefully not have those really weird edges. Those edges were coming from where the grass was stamped here. You can see through the top edges of the grass and see the edges of the blanket. So what we need to do in order to cover that is we're going to have to extend the color of the sections here. And we can use a series of clone stamp tools, smudging, and possibly stretching using portions of what's already there. So let's go ahead and I'd say try to clone stamp some of this here. So I'm going to grab the clone stamping tool. I'll choose a size of 50 points with an opacity of 100. I'm going to use a brand new empty layer so I can change and adjust it. I'm going to Alt and click right around here. It's okay if the bottom shows that edge there because we're going to be hopefully in the grass by the time we get to that. And I'll go ahead and stamp a little bit of this portion down here. And all that does is it extends the boot a little bit further and allows us to recreate all these portions a lot easier than it would have been here. I'll show you the before, after. Look how simple that was. So now we have a lot more latitude to put grass before it hits the blanket. And if you really want, at this point, I could take the smudge tool, and that's a size of 20% is pretty good. And I could smudge this down a little bit because anything below this is going to be covered anyway, so it's okay if it's a little bit blurry. That just gives us really, really good latitude of how much grass that we have to use versus what we want to use. Now up here it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but we go ahead and grab this clone stamp tool again. Let's reduce the size to about 30 points so we can grab Alt, grab this, and then just dot it right there. See what happened? I can just dot another one right there. And then down here, I can Alt, grab this, and just dot it right there. And I can Alt here and just kind of, boom, see that? Here's the before. After, we just created a bunch of boot, which gives us a lot of area to put grass and cover a lot of the bottom edges. Now it's going to get a little more difficult because now we got designs going on up here. So this is where we want to use the smudge tool. And let's go down to the original. This is going to be a little difficult because we don't want to make it look like it's been smudged. And this is a soft brush. 20 point strength is about 50%. You can see what's happening. We're just smudging that down, trying to recreate that line there and just have it extend further down like that. I'm going to make this about a 10 point and just smudge this all out. Here I might want to just fake it and grab the stamp tool, but there's designs going on. I wonder if we grab this here, bring it down here and kind of fake it, boom, like that. That's all right. That works. There's a kind of a vertical piece here, so if I come up here and grab this vertical piece and add it to right there, look at that. And then one more down here where this meets right around there. So that added a bunch of extra stuff. Now let's come up to the jeans area. Let's try the clone stamp tool again. So let's grab it right around here, but I'm going to open up a new layer. Therefore, we can like make it right here and then take that layer that we just made, bring it down here, and watch this. We turn the angle, boom, and it continues this angle going across from where the original was, right around there. And that gives us a lot more jean down below. Here's the before, after, before, after. It's looking pretty good. Now we move on up even more right here. Check this out. We're going to go to the original. I'm going to leave this blade of grass by making a polygon and come down like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. And come back up to here. What this does is it builds a buffer that I don't want to go beyond. Then I could take the smudge brush. Let's grab a big one, something like a 50 point, and just kind of smudge that down. And that continues those dark angles and just pulls the gene down further. Now we have some of that stuff from the layer above here, which is, I believe, this layer. So now go to that layer and do the same thing and pull this down a little bit like this. And that gives me more blue. And it's going to look kind of funky right here, but it's okay because we're going to have grass all over this. I mean, if you really want, we can kind of just smudge this out so it sort of blends in a little bit. But it's not really necessary because we'll have grass that covers all that. And let's see, let's move on up a little bit. Let's say like this rock here, we can smudge the rock. That's okay. And smudge this down like that. And hopefully we can find some grass that won't be so obvious. In this area, we can cover all this stuff up. And this is pretty much just a bunch of preps so that we can better utilize the clone stamp tool later. What if we use the clone stamp tool? Remember, always create a new layer. And I'm going to grab from this red one and come down here and copy that over here and bring it down. And whoops, I covered the grass. But guess what? I really didn't, because I could take the eraser. And remember, this is its own layer. Let's make the eraser really small, like a 5 point, and cut out that portion where it crosses the grass. Right there. Easy peasy. Put another piece down here with the clone stamp tool. We can create a new blank layer if we like. And let's continue this leaf right around here. That's looking pretty good. We don't have to be quite as detailed if we want to just bring the grass up further, but the higher we put the grass later on, the more fake it's going to look. And if we can't see where it's at, we can always lessen the opacity of what we need to work on. But that's looking pretty good. I'm only going to go as far as up to this shoe here. So now we just do like we did before, go back to the original layer, and I'm going to leave this blade of grass in here and hopefully smudge down to about here. I might replace this whole piece here with a blade of grass. And we want this to be a portion of this blanket, so I can grab the clone stamp tool again. And let's grab this right around there, and boom. And there we go. Let's see, now we just got to cover this up with some grass. So now we're just going to fix all this area. It looks kind of funky now, but we just brought everything down for this so that the grass can become lower than it is in this version here. Because in this version it had to go so up to hide the blanket that it looks fake. So now, since we're covering everything, I'm going to marry everything together, and I'll merge them. I'm going to highlight all these, right click, and merge all the layers. So now we got that portion fixed. Next, we want to build a layer of grass in the front here. So I'm going to create another blank layer. Let's try the clone stamping tool and add like a 200%. And I'll just grab some from right around here. We're going to come down here, right to where we can get away with not seeing any portion of the blanket. And that's looking pretty good. I can grab a long piece up here and try to match a couple portions here. Let's do this. Come across to there. And now we can go wider on a new layer. And I'm going to put that layer actually underneath. And go bigger. Let's do like 150 point. Grab some from here. We'll go from right to left. And there we go. Now this top layer, we want to kind of come back and work with a little bit because it looks like it's faded in certain portions. We'll take the eraser, and this is where we have to just kind of like get in there and do some manual labor erasing here. I'm going to turn everything else off to see what portion that I have to cut off, and I can make a brand new layer, pick a black color and fill it in, and now we can see exactly what needs to be cut out. Now with the polygon tool, And maybe the lasso tool, I can just kind of go like this and lasso out above the portions that I had just erased. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the softness of the edge of our clone stamp tool and making it a little bit more hard edged on this portion here. And I'll come back up, come across, and delete. Oop. Make sure you choose the right layer. Top one and delete. Turn off the black and turn back on the background. I can always pick that top portion and move it up or down, whatever it takes to just barely start covering that white of the blanket underneath. And that's looking pretty good. If I compare that to the original poster's version, and you can see here's the before, after, before, after. And of course, we're looking just at this portion right here. So now let's get rid of the portion of the blanket right here. So I'm going to create a new layer above the original. And we're going to grab this knee and boot here and copy a portion so that we can have that on the top layer. Take the polygon tool and let's go ahead and just grab away what we want to keep carefully along the edge, making sure that it's within the jeans and not the color of the blanket. It's okay if we lose a tiny, tiny bit because it's a loss that will not be noticed by the viewers. Come over to here and to the top, double click, and what we're going to do is make sure we're on that bottom layer. I'm going to right click and hit copy, and now we just created a little portion that's going to be on top. And what we want to do is create a blank layer in between, and we hit the new layer, and there's our layer in between that we can use the clone stamp tool to cover it up with grass. And this way the grass goes in between the two layers, it'll get hidden. So let's go ahead and grab the clone stamp tool, and let's make this, let's say about 200 points size. It's nice and big. And we're going to alt click right here and check this out, how easy this is going to be. Boom. That's all it took. Come down here and boom. One more time and boom. And we like that. Now down here it should be a little bit darker, so I'll make the clone stamp tool smaller, like at 100. Come up here, alt click down up there because it's nice and dark. Come to this little corner and boom. Now it naturally got a little darker. Now it's in between the two layers, top layer of the knee we just created and the original. And that's all it takes. This is before, after. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, like 100. And alt click, and that gives us a higher piece of grass to use. And we're going to cover all this here. And now we can see the before, after. Before, after. That's looking pretty natural. If I look at the original, you can see where this is pretty good here, but you can see part of the blanket and you can see more of it here. And it kind of looks like a line instead of a little more random. So come back to this one, and now it starts looking a little bit more random. And there we go. So it's a little bit softer and organic. Well, that's it for this tutorial. This is Rich, calling it quits, saying over and out.